The Weekly, hosted by the editors of Pro Builder and Pro Remodeler, starts now.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of The Weekly. This is your spot every Thursday to check out the latest trends and innovations we're seeing in the marketplace. So we've gotten past Halloween, we're heading to Thanksgiving. Nobody knows what they're doing. Look, COVID's done enough, but Thanksgiving, oh, that hits you right there. So I went to a couple conferences this week. We had the Women in Residential Construction Conference, and Cheryl Palmer was the keynote. And she's just an amazing leader. And she's talking about the challenges of being a woman executive now with COVID. Things are even harder than they've ever been. I also went up to Harvard, virtually of course, to the Joint Centers for Housing and talked about the remodeling market, which is in great shape. And another topic that came out that we've been talking about so much is this clean, healthy home. Man, it's affecting our industry, both new construction and remodeling around design and technologies and products. Honestly, I don't think you could get up to that fast enough. It's moving really, really quick. So let's talk about this week's sponsor. It's the Extreme Lead Gen Conference. And it's another one of these live connected conferences. People are liking these. They're interactive, there's panels, there's roundtables, there's happy hours, there's input, you see people, you talk. So here's all the information on it. Please check it out. If you're a remodeling firm and leads are important to you, you could not be in a better place. So let's get into this week's segment. In our first segment, Scott Saddam, every time he's on, we tell him we love him because we do, because he's smart, talks about the 8 criterion that separate successful builders from unsuccessful builders. And could leadership be the most important criterion?
And so I started thinking about this with builders and the things I've seen that cause builders to go under or not perform well. Yeah, maybe they're making 2% and they're surviving, but they're leaving a lot of money on the table. So that all came together and I started writing things down. And the first one I write down was strategy. And we'll only have 30 seconds for each one of these, but I encourage you to read the article and learn more about it. Strategy. And, they know their strengths, they know their weaknesses, what they're good at. They don't throw, what at the wall and say, let's go do that. Wait for a piece of land to walk in the door and run off later, figure out what to build on it. So really having a strong strategy. And then there being a market for what they build. It's no good to be good at something if there's no market for it. So you got to have that market. Then, of course, financing. And these aren't in a particular order. If you don't have the money the capital to get to, be building houses, doesn't matter how much else you have. After that, a product that works for people. And something that fits that market need and that strategy, what you can do. Next is operations. I've written countless articles on this. One of the big issues continues now that I wrote a 4-article series on a couple of years ago was on variance. And it goes on to this day. Variances are out of control. And that's all a function of how good your operations. That and schedule, to me, are the 2 biggest indicators of how good your operations really are. And then the trade base and supply chain, everybody knows about that a few years. And with COVID, the last few years with COVID, it's even worse. Have to have that solid trade base, solid supply chain. Then it comes to people and culture. Got involved with a builder not long ago who had most of these things, but had some really serious culture problem. And the president of his company is about trying to go through the steps to really change that culture. And then the last one, which perhaps is the most important one, is then leadership. If you have really strong leadership, they're going to pay attention to those first 7 things and make sure they happen. But without really strong leadership, they just won't happen on their own. The irony is all those 8, if you have a serious failure in any one of them, it takes you down.
In our middle segment this week, we're going to talk about something that we feel like is coming to our industry. It's a playbook for builders. How can they incorporate off-site delivery to their job sites? Will they embrace that? Dennis Steigerwalt, who's an expert in this area, says, you want to know something? If we're going to make this happen, we need some peer-to-peer education.
So now it's an opportunity for us to all do what we do best, right? We'll get a couple great leaders from the industry up on stage, give them a chance to kind of tell their story about their journeys as they transition from on-site delivery models to off-site models, and kind of talk about their fail forwards and what they had to do organizationally to kind of shift the minds of their teams and make sure that they had their fingers on the pulse of that transition as it's taking place. So you're going to lead us on that journey, right, Rich?
Yeah, I'm gonna be with you at the summit on November 11th. We've got a couple of sessions, one a main kind of presentation session, and then we're gonna follow it up with a roundtable. But yeah, we've got some builders who have gone through the war, have gone through the wall bloody, and come out and figured it out. And I think that when you look at folks like Oakwood and Woodside and Van Meter, I mean those guys have the experience and can share that experience with builders who are, have either gone through to a certain degree and pulled back, or have just resisted and don't think it's for them, or don't really know where to start. So we do have a great group, and also a working group that you and I have been working with that's just fantastic of people that have their finger on the pulse of a lot of aspects of a builder's business and how offsite affects it.
We finish up today talking about good design. My goodness, we all recognize it when we see it. But the question is, can you have good design at all price points?
I believe good design exists at all price points. And so it's difficult. It's always a trade-off. But I think that forces us to be good editors. I think when you have a blank checkbook, that good design sort of flies out the window. I think good design exists at all price points, but I think when you have more restraints, you're forced to make decisions about the design narrative or the aesthetic that you're trying to achieve.
So that ends our episode for this week. As always, we greatly appreciate you joining us. If you missed any of our past segments or episodes, you can find them on Horizon TV or on YouTube. They're all there and searchable, so you can find exactly what you're looking for. Next week, we'll be back with 3 new segments. In the meantime, check out the Extreme Lead Gen Conference. If you're a remodeler with leads, it's worth you checking out. Be safe, keep warm, wear your mask. Wait. Maybe it's not that easy. There it is. That's mine. That's a Pit Panther. Woo! So be safe, and we look forward to seeing you next Thursday. Thank you.